Hi guys, today we're going to look at the top 10 fattest countries in the world. Find out which countries are dominating the top 10 and you'll be surprised. First, let's define the fattest, or let's call it its rightful term, obesity. Overweight and obesity are defined as abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that may impair health. Obesity has become a major global health crisis and experts believe that it will continue to rise in the coming years. About 3.4 million people die from obesity every year. It increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, certain types of cancers, and reduces your lifespan. So it is important to check yourself if you are from the country that is in the top 10 of the world's fattest. Let's get right into it. Taking the title of the number 10 spot is Kuwait. Kuwait is the only nation in the top 10 outside of the Pacific region. About 42.8% of the population are considered to be obese, while a staggering 70% fall into overweight classification. Kuwait is the most overweight country in the Middle East, with obesity projected to rise to 60% by 2020. According to Kuwait Times, the tiny Gulf state also boasts worryingly high rates of diabetes, as well as the highest rate of stomach stabilizing surgeries in the world, with an average of 5,000 operations performed annually for a small population of just 4 million. The same report claimed Kuwait's booming fast food industry is to blame for the epidemic, while other sources cite a lack of amenities and activities in the oil-rich nation as the reason for the chronic overeating. And coming in at number 9 is the Marshall Islands. A national survey indicated 62.5% of the total Marshall Islands population were considered overweight. Vitamin A deficiency is a widespread public health issue in the Marshall Islands, as well as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension. The dramatically worsening weight problem across the South Pacific has been attributed mainly to the increase of imported foods, according to the World Health Organization. And coming in at number 8 is Kiribati. Nutrition is a significant health risk factor in the small island grouping of Kiribati, which has a population of less than 100,000. Despite a rich supply of fish and locally harvested food, Kiribati have steadily increased their consumption of cheap, low-quality imported foods, high in salt, sugar, and saturated fat in recent decades. An estimated 30% of males and 54% of females aged 20 and over are classified as obese. Further, 30% of the population live with type 2 diabetes. Cardiovascular disease accounted for 20% of all deaths in Kiribati, while diabetes killed a further 7% of the population. The World Health Organization cited overweight and obesity as the leading cause of these chronic diseases in the islands of Kiribati. Coming in at number 7 is Palau. Located in the Western Pacific Ocean south of Japan lies a grouping of 340 islands known collectively as Palau, home to around 20,000 citizens. The region is blessed with rich biodiversity, stunning landscapes, and pristine beaches. But Palau is also plagued with significant health challenges, the worst of which is chronic obesity. Roughly 78.4% of Palauans are classified as overweight, with 47.6% are obese, while diabetes and liver disease are also rampant among the unwell population. Heart disease and a wide range of cancers are on the increase in Palau, attributed to dietary and environmental triggers. Coming in at number 6 is Samoa. With 43.4% of Samoans were found to be obese in a CNN survey, 9 out of 10 adults are deemed to be overweight. Poor diet and reduced levels of physical activity have become major public health concerns in Samoa, where residents have a genetic predisposition to type 2 diabetes. Stroke and heart disease is also increasing across the country, an epidemic which has been linked to an increase in cheap, nutritionally lacking Western food imports. The Guardian newspaper reports Samoans view locally produced fresh ingredients as somehow socially less important, leading to a preference for imported, highly processed food, sugary drinks, and tinned, canned, salty foods. Coming in at number 5 is the Kingdom of Tonga. According to public health statistics, 43.4% of Tongan population are obese. Life expectancy has fallen to 64 years in Tonga, down from a historic average of mid-70s. Up to 40% of Tongan population live with type 2 diabetes. The late Tongan king Tauhatu holds the world record for being the heaviest monarch to ever live, weighing in at 200 kilos. One of the primary culprits behind Tonga's disturbing weight problem is the importation of cheap, fatty cuts of meat called mutton flaps from New Zealand. The tiny island nation also imports large quantities of low-quality turkey tails from the United States, which the BBC have reported are regarded by the Tongans as socially superior to domestically farmed fish and meat. Coming in at number 4 is Tokelau. with low levels of physical activity and poor diet has resulted in obesity levels of over 70% amongst Tokelauans, with more than 50% of the population declaring themselves as smokers. Coming in at number 3 is the Cook Islands. An estimated 90.1% of Cook Islanders are overweight, while 50.8% are deemed to be obese. 2017 research from the World Health Organization found that more than 30% of children in the Cook Islands are obese. Coming in at number 2 is Nauru. In Nauru, the world's smallest island nation, obesity is seen as a symbol of affluence, success, and social status. According to the CIA World Factbook, a staggering 94.5% of Nauru's 10,000 residents are deemed to be overweight, while 45.6% are categorized as obese. A further 31% of Nauruans are diabetic. And roll the drums. Coming in at number 1 is American Samoa, the small US territory in the idyllic waters of the South Pacific. A staggering 74.6% of the American Samoa population is regarded as obese, making it the fattest country in the world. American Samoa is in the grip of malnutrition epidemic, which much of the population relying on processed, low-quality imported foods from the US. A lack of health education is also a contributing factor in the rise of overweight and obesity and chronic disease on the island territory. Now the question is, why are the Pacific countries dominating the top 10 fattest countries in the Pacific? They have a very different view on weight. If you're athletic, you're considered skinny, unhealthy, and also poor, as you might not be able to buy the food from the shops. Whereas if you put on weight, you're considered healthy, strong, and wealthy because you can afford to buy foods from the shop. The weight of adults in the South Pacific region is increasingly 4 times faster than the global average. Some experts argue people in the region are genetically predisposed to obesity, but other studies have pointed out that the eating habits of locals were influenced by colonial settlers, which caused them to gain weight. Fact is, colonization and globalization is the reason behind obesity epidemic in the Pacific Islands. This is proven by the fact that Pacific Islanders were very healthy prior to colonial settlers spreading around the islands. On the internet, you'll find videos and photos from about 70 years ago, which proves Pacific Islanders were very healthy people. They worked on their farms, they go out hunting, they go out fishing, and lived very active lifestyles. Also, food supplies and drinks were very organic and fresh. They were hunted, prepared on the same day. There were no fridges for anything to be frozen up for weeks or months or years. But when globalization quickly spread around the Pacific, imports of processed, cheap quality foods quickly spread around the islands, replacing traditional food supplies, and eating habits changed. This also led to a sedentary lifestyle, as food is now readily available from the shops. They are fattier and tastier than traditional foods. According to the World Health Organization, worldwide obesity has nearly tripled since 1975. An end note, although this is a huge global health crisis, the doctor says it is completely preventable and reversible. Until next time, Tama out over here. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and leave a comment below. Thank you. Take care.